Well, I think we can get started. It looks like we have a quorum. Call the meeting to order. Should we take roll call or are we good, Melissa?
Hold on, I'm
Sorry.
just
Oh, there she is.
trying to get checked in here because anyway, hold on.
Okay.
Let's see. So so we could just go through and do introductions. So that would be great. And
All right.
hopefully, if you want me to do it or you want to give it a shot, do you see the folks on the screen or?
I don't see everyone.
I'm not sure I do either, but I'm happy to give it a shot. So
Okay.
we can start, of course, with you. Go ahead, Paula.
Paula Levy, Chair, Commission on Aging.
Okay. And then we'll go to, I think, Aaron. Okay, I thought Aaron was here, but maybe not.
I see her. I see
Yeah.
her. Yeah.
She might be having the same problem I did. I was muted.
Okay.
So then let's go ahead and go to Dayton.
Dayton Romero, representing Colorado Springs here on the commission.
Super. Steve.
Steve Peterschmidt, representing Colorado Springs.
Super. And Kathy. Kathy was here, then Kathy left.
I'm just going to jump in. Hey,
and there's Aaron.
Aaron, I'm here. I'm representing Innovations in Aging Collaborative, and I've been having a lot of trouble with my teams today that Dayton can attest to. So I'm going to keep working on it, but happy to be here. Happy to see everybody.
Great. Super. And then I'm Melissa with the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging. And then we have Jared. Maybe.
Sorry, I just waved, but yes, Jared Verner, Public Information Officer.
Thanks, Jared. I looked away from the screen. Okay, and we do have a quorum.
Okay.
And hopefully, okay, I see Kathy back in. So Kathy, would you like to introduce yourself real quick? To the best of your abilities. There she is. Yay. All right, Kathy made it. And
Awesome.
Go ahead.
Is that great? So we've got a quorum.
Yep.
And now we can call for agenda approval. Is there a motion to approve today's agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There should be more, but I'm guessing everyone's in favor. Next time I'll say all opposed and then that'll be easier to take note of. All right, next we're moving on to consent items. And then approval of our May 15th meeting minutes. We have a motion to approve our minutes from the May 15th meeting.
This is Aaron. I'll move to approve them.
Thank you, Aaron. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Steve. Any opposed? None opposed, so the minutes have been approved. No other consent items. We'll move on to public comments and presentations. I don't see any guests on the call. Here comes Jody. So, Melissa, do you know of any public comments?
No, and I'm pretty sure Jared would confirm that we haven't had any submitted to us.
Okay,
That is correct. We did not receive any advance requests, and we did not receive any written public comment.
right, great, thank you. Welcome, Jody.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Yeah, we are on to action item number 5 already. So action items, help me out, Melissa.
We don't have any because we are going to comment about the bylaws kind of
further
during
down.
discussion. And
Okay.
Jared's going to share a little bit about that. So,
Okay,
yeah,
great.
so I think we are good to go.
all right. Moving on to item number 6, our information items. We'll start with the membership committee. Erin, do you have a report?
I don't have anything new to report from the membership committee in the last month. Melissa, I know we reached out to someone right after our last meeting. Did you hear back from them?
I haven't. But one of the good things that I did hear from is that Yolanda Avila from the City of Colorado Springs City Council wants to make a formal appointment for Aaron from the City of Colorado Springs. So that is in the works. And there are, I think, at least 2 other people that hopefully we just need to keep circling back to. One is the individual that was recommended from Park County by Commissioner Mitchell. And then the other is the gentleman that was recommended from Paula with the foundation. So, and I haven't heard from either of them, but
Okay.
I'll reach out again. So, and CC Aaron on that.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
All right, next is policy committees, Colorado Center for Aging. And that's Amy Mitchell. She's not on call today. So who could report?
Aaron. Yep. And Aaron put her hand up.
Okay, great. Thanks, Erin.
Can I ask a question just about the process going forward then? Because you said Yolanda will nominate me to join the COA. So what is the next step? What does that look like?
So I sent her an email, and, commenting with her about her getting with the city council, and finding out if that needs to be something that is put on their agenda, to get approved. And so I'm waiting to hear back from her.
Okay, and should I plan on being at the next meeting? Because I'm guessing that today is formally my last meeting.
I would say, Aaron, if you want to continue to attend the Commission on Aging meetings, for the brief intermission time, I don't know, I guess I can turn it over to Jody to talk about it, but, it just seems like you are a member, regardless of the seat that you hold, for innovations. So, but again, that's just me. So I don't know. I would say that please continue to attend. And it should hopefully, because other individuals who have changed kind of roles, for all intents and purposes, they've just said, yes, keep me on as a member, and then you get voted in as a member from a different, just kind of in your different role. If you want to wait on the situation until the City of Colorado Springs actually makes that formal effort happen, and then just attend the meetings as a guest. But I'm not really sure. So
I would certainly encourage you, since the intention is that you'll just continue on, Aaron, as a new quote unquote member, as an appointee from the City of Colorado Springs. There's really no concern or discussion right now. She was very happy to step in and start that process on the city side. And so this is for all intents and purposes, it's really the formality of going through the appointment process. So for you to be able to stay up to speed with everything that's going on with the Commission on Aging and any of the work session, breakout session work, we as a public entity, you can certainly still be engaged in the process. So, there will be a, 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 a pinch of time there where we can show you as attending, just not as an appointee yet. So I would encourage you just to stay connected with your fellow commission members, and let Melissa will go through the process with City Council person Avila, and we'll do whatever it is the city needs. Like we've mentioned before, every organization, city level or county commission, do things a little bit differently. So we'll find that out and we'll get you all taken care of. So if they have to have you there in person for anything, then we would certainly communicate that as well. I don't think so, but we will certainly find that out from Council Member Avila, and that'll get communicated to you. So I would encourage that continued participation. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. And do we need to do anything for changing the bylaws to remove innovations in aging from the COA?
That's
Here
on
it's-
that's on the 9A agenda item that will be coming up.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, great. Thank you.
And will you stay as membership chair?
Yes, I can stay as membership chair.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right,
it'll work.
just checking, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. All right, is there a report from the center, Colorado Center for the Aging, since Amy's not here?
I didn't receive anything from her. Sometimes she sends, kind
Sure.
of a little bullet point things, but I didn't get anything. So
Okay. All right, so there's probably nothing from the legislative committee either, or is there someone that can report to that?
Jared can provide an update to that. Commissioner Mitchell does join those meetings, but those have paused for the
Okay.
summer since there's no active legislation going on. But Jared can give you an update on some of the recent conversations.
Okay,
Sure, I'll be happy to. So obviously we're in the interim session, so there's not a whole lot of activity going on right now. Obviously we have, I just apologize. We have primaries coming up in about 2 weeks now, or no, a week now, I'm sorry. And so once we have that, our lobbyist will start meeting actively with the candidates on both sides of the aisle. So that when election day comes in November, because that's a pretty short sprint between November and the start of the session in January, that we're not complete strangers. But until then, obviously there's some interim committees meeting, none that really specifically tie into aging. And so that's really what we're looking at. I haven't answered any questions, but it's a very quiet time of the year.
great, thank you, Jared. And how about on the State Commission on Aging? Did Amy join us on the call? Or Kathy, I'm sorry.
she was on. We have somebody that joined with a phone number now. I don't know if that's Kathy or not.
Melissa, if she is not on, how about a brief update on the commission's Future of Aging conference last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, so Dayton was there, Aaron was there, and I will just pop it off by congratulating Erin here today. She received the Alan Buckingham Award for the state for Employee of the Year. So that was really, really, really exciting. And so kudos to you, Erin, for all the work you've done around the state and the people that you've connected with. And, you know, I also don't know if you had a role in helping the age-friendly conference get off and going, did you?
Thank you so much. That recognition means so much to me after I just feel like I've been hustling 100 miles an hour every day for the past 18 months. And I know that we all do. You know, this work takes a lot of time and a lot of heart, and I'm so incredibly honored to receive that award. And I did help just running the age tech track at that conference. So um, I have to give so many props to Jody Waterhouse. I don't know how she's able to do it. Conference planning is not my strong suit, and she does a very good job getting all the ducks in the row and herding all the cats. So
Yeah, yep. And so I don't know, Dayton, if you want to make any comments about and then I can circle back and say a few more things too, but I thought maybe I would turn it over to Dayton and Erin if they wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, I thought it was. Oh, I'm getting feedback.
Me too, although now it's better. I don't know.
How about now?
If everyone
Okay.
else can mute,
So,
that might help.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, it's better. Yeah, I also would echo just a big congratulations to Erin, and it was so awesome to see her receive that alongside another gentleman who was also honored for some amazing work that he'd done. Overall, I guess my takeaways were just the amazing energy of the conference and turnout in person in Loveland. Just representation from so many just spans in the aging field, just different perspectives, different geographies. Actually sat at a table, was asked last minute to be a table captain, facilitating the age-friendly conversations that we did, and just had a really rich conversation. Coincidentally, one of the people or two of those folks were from Trinidad, where I'm from. So we were able to kind of find common ground real easy on the kind of small town life and how aging folks are kind of experiencing some different things down there. But overall, just an amazing conference, and echo everything going on there. I guess I would also just do a quick plug in terms of, the Colorado Commission on Aging is recruiting commissioners. So certainly would put a plug out there for that for those who are interested. And then secondly, I know that the commission's age-friendly subcommittee is looking for their chair as well as a co-chair. The co-chair does not need to be an appointed commissioner. So just thought I would throw those things out for those who are looking to get involved at the state commission. I see Kathy's joined us.
Alyssa, did you have anything else to add?
No, I do see
Melissa, you're
Kathy's hand
muted.
up though.
Yeah, my mic keeps muting.
So Kathy, part of that I think is because sometimes we have to mute microphones if there's echoes going on. So that's what happens, mine included. Do you have any comments to add about the Future of Aging conference?
Well, I attended virtually and I just thought some of the facts were interesting. Like 45 million Americans are over 65 or 65 or older. And in the 70s and 80s was the biggest migration period, and they kind of attribute it to John Denver. And they're saying that our growth is happening slower than people are retiring. So that's one of the problems with our Colorado's economy, I guess. So, I mean, there was a lot going I was in the workforce breakout session, and AARP was very active in that session. So I don't have any major things to add. I know there were some people there in person, which sounds like would have been great, because it was kind of confusing. But anyway, yeah, the housing committee on Diana Delgado's leaving, so they're actually looking for a chair and a vice chair. So
Always
anyway,
opportunities for people to get involved.
yeah, plenty of them. Yes.
So I would just add, Dayton commented about the table talks during lunch. And, a huge focus on that was intergenerational activities. And I took down a ton of notes. And I don't know, maybe Kathy and I get together and talk about it a little bit more. So kind of two big takeaways for me from the Age Friendly or the Future of Aging conference was, first, there's a lot of opportunity and things to be kind of digging more into around social engagement. And so, so that was a great takeaway there. Again, lots of notes that I put down. And then to piggyback on that, I think that we really need to figure out how to communicate more. And this is, again, I think, opportunity for Kathy and I, maybe Paula, you participate in this too. Our Commission on Aging, feeding information up to the State Commission on Aging and kind of working more closely with each other. And, it's interesting because we have, 3 commissioners from Colorado Springs that are on the, State Commission on Aging. So Kathy, Penny Whitney, and Kimberly Bryant from the long-term care community. So we had some really good representation from our region at the state level, which I think is amazing. And I'd just like to kind of maybe see that kind of somehow have more of a connection, kind of going up to the State Commission on Aging in some way. I don't know what that looks like. So again, I just throw that out there. And again, I know Dayton, we talked about this, when you were chair, trying to figure out, for the other commissions that are in existence around the state, which there aren't very many, how can we communicate better? And it might be kind of interesting the next time this happens at the state level, that there is an opportunity for the smaller regional commissions to have happy hour with each other, to get together and just meet each other, hopefully, as part of the state, conference happening. Am I right in this only happens kind of every 2 years? Jody, thoughts on that, Dayton?
Yes, that's correct. It only happens every 2 years, and
Yeah.
the funding came from a state funding pool that's no longer available.
Yeah.
So hopefully able to have the conference again in 2026, but to be determined depending on resources that are available at that time.
Yeah. So I think those are, honestly, I think there were a few glitches here and there, as there always are, but all in all, I thought it was amazing. So again, kind of piggybacking on what you said, Aaron, with Jody Waterhouse, but I also feel for trying to make it a virtual thing and getting people tuned in and trying to make it available. That's so hard. But it was outstanding. I'm so glad that the AAA was able to send staff. It's fun to see people there. And so just looking forward to an opportunity over the next year to connect more. Kathy, Paula, and I may be talking about, the Commission on Aging and more connection there. So we'll just see.
Great. All right. I think we're on to item D, PPACG board items, Jody?
Mm.
Yeah, thank you. Hello. This last meeting, we had a great public comment period from Penny Whitney, and three of the students who have been going through the JAWS program, and just really great presentations from these. If you're not familiar with the JAWS program, that's stands for Jump Starting Aging Workforce. And so the idea, the concept behind this is that they bring in long-term care partners as well as seeking out students, both high school and early college years, to basically introduce them to long-term care work. And there are components of both long-term care facilities as well as home care components, and really creating an interest there, an understanding of the needs. And they don't pull any punches. They've been meeting with our Kent Matthews around home care and respite, and they've been meeting with our ombudsman team. And so really understanding the struggles and the overall workforce shortages. And so, they're getting to see the work that's being done, the work that's not being done, and really seeing it uncovered. And these young people really did a great presentation to our board of directors to see that. So you all know various staff have been in talks and in the planning processes of this overall JAWS program. It's not a funded program from us. I think we would be considered some of their community partners, and so we've been participating and encouraging Penny Whitney and others. The folks they got a couple of streams of funding. One for Appanay Partners, which Penny heads up. They also received some state level ARPA funds that went into UCCS and distributed to them to run this program. So it started off fairly slowly, as you might have imagined, but I don't have the participation numbers in front of me, but it's really growing by leaps and bounds. And so it was really great to hear from them and hear that work, because it's not really something that's been done in our region. I think it's something that if they can secure the funding and continue growing those partners, this could be quite an interesting and exciting time for workforce for long-term care within our community. So that's what I wanted to share on that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jody. Next is chair report. And my report will be talking more at the working session when we get to that item, because we talked a little bit about it at our caregiver committee meeting just prior to this meeting. But I think that's going to be part of my report. I don't know that I have other items to report on since we met last, unless, Melissa, I'm forgetting something that you think I should be reporting on. I don't think I have anything.
I think we're good. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Presentations, I don't know that we have any. Item 7. Next are our working session work groups, and this is what we were talking about as we were wrapping up our caregiver conference committee meeting, which we've had 2 now. Connie Kent Matthews, Phyllis Campbell, Melissa, who else? Oh, Lucy Crandall. Those have been our core people that have been meeting as part of our work group, talking about caregiver needs. And as a group, we've decided to go and start with a conference strictly for caregivers, not an expo or anything around that, but really focusing on education and resources for caregivers in our community and surrounding communities. And so when we got to talking about what work sessions were going to look like at this meeting, we're like, we just had an hour work session with our group. So what would we do during a work session if you all broke into work groups? So my thought was that if you all wanted to team up and just talk to the group about your group and maybe take 10 minutes if you have that much to talk about, if that makes sense, or if anybody has other ideas about how you'd want to do that. Connie and I are, I'm sure Connie can go play with her baby for a good 10 minutes, but we can definitely report back to where we're at with our caregiver thing. But yeah, so give me some feedback on where you guys want to go with work groups, because I'm not sure if all work groups are represented with the people we have in attendance. So let me know what your thoughts are on that.
Paula, this is Connie. I did think of a few things we could workshop if there are people who want longer time, given
Okay.
that if we have it. So we can easily fill the space without my baby involved.
Okay, that sounds fine. So yeah, if let's just maybe take a vote. Who would like to break into work groups for about 10 or 15 minutes with your work group? If you have a work group person
And so
present.
let me jump in and comment just a little bit.
Sure.
Because we are missing Amy, and I don't think Penny has come on yet. I feel like she emailed me and said that she thought she was going to be late to the meeting. And so I have a little bit of an update from them.
Okay.
But then, and so Steve, he would be participating in that group if there were people here, but they're really not. And then, Kathy is her solo, social group, and she's definitely kind of found her way into the caregiver group, so she could break into the caregiver group. So I kind of like your idea, and Erin and Dayton are here, but I kind of like your idea, Paula, of maybe we just spend, it's only 3:30. And so maybe we do just, have everybody just kind of talk, as a, large group about different things that are on their minds since the last time, that we met,
Sure.
and just kind of, instead of breaking out, because I just feel like, we won't have any breakout groups really. We will, because Dayton and Erin could break out, and then, Kathy can go with the caregiver. So that all said, yes, if other people can jump in if they do want to, if they feel strongly about going into the breakouts, but I kind of want to just have everybody just keep talking in
Yeah.
the big room. So
Okay.
anyway, thanks.
Anybody opposed to that? No? Anyone would like to go first with their group? Dayton? I know you do.
I can once I have our document pulled up. So
Okay,
if you want to give me a moment, happy to do it.
sure.
And Dayton, I'm grabbing it right now, so I'll put that spreadsheet up here.
In the meantime, I have a joke. What did the number 0 say to the number 8? Nice belt. Thank you, Dayton. Silly but fun, clean for a change from me. So that was one I could tell at meetings. So Connie knows me. Oh, well. I forgot that's on the record. Oops. Okay.
And I am not finding that spreadsheet that I sent. Why? Hmm. Oh. Oh.
I guess also I can't find it for whatever reason. I think kind of an important thing as we look at these goals and objectives um, is that we all are really clear on how we're measuring our progress and kind of our success toward those goals. And I know, particularly for our group, we were kind of establishing some of those indicators of, housing and transportation. What does it look like using, our involvement with existing groups, participating in those, as well as uh, any sort of influence we might have in those groups or just overall involvement. So that was kind of like a first step that we'd set out for the housing and transportation goals, to be at the forefront of like who are our champions related to housing in each. Thank you, Melissa. Now I see it. Who are champions related to these areas of concern in housing and transportation in these communities, because we might already, like Amy probably is on the pulse significantly on both of these fronts in her area or in her county. I know Melissa also is very involved with like the medical acuity group and some other housing groups in town. So I think there's a little bit more details we could fill in, and as that foundation begins to get laid, we can kind of work from there of how we plan to leverage those connections and those networks, and how can this commission really just be on the pulse of what's going on or potentially make an impact in the way that aligns with our goals in those groups. So that's what I got for now.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thank you. All right. Steve, do you have anything from your group that you want to talk about?
No, I was just reaching out to Amy right now to have us set aside some additional time to go through this. I know she's was working on a specific event or activity in Park County, but I wasn't a part of that discussion, and so yeah, I'm reaching out to her now to see if we can set up some time to make progress between now and the next meeting.
Okay.
And then I can give an update, a little bit of some of the things that have happened. So I guess most importantly, Amy, Park County, hosted the broadband roadshow for Region 4, which was El Paso, Park, and Teller counties. And so they set aside their meeting space for people to come in person, but then had virtual options for people to tune in and comment. And that was a pretty big deal meeting. I don't know how that went. I haven't heard from Amy yet to have an update. I was kind of hoping she would be here today to be able to give an update on that, because that was one of the many kind of meetings that are happening around the state to talk about how broadband is getting rolled out. And so they had contractors who are actually, digging the lines. They had elected officials. And so I was really, I'm curious to hear how that all went. So that's just kind of a nice, opportunity for us all to know that, broadband is, kind of getting ready to go all around the state, and what's going to happen there. And then the other part that Dayton and Aaron are often kind of also connected up with is just the digital equity piece, and how they really are looking at trying to put together around the state the kind of core, what do they call it? This core entity for a particular region to really help guide how people are going to get access to technology. And so there's only one coalition in the state so far, and it's a small one in Denver, and they want coalitions all over kind of the different regions. And so there's a lot of conversation around that's starting to happen. And so I don't know if Dayton or Aaron wants to comment a little bit more on those coalitions. This stems from when we had Melanie come and present to the Commission on Aging, and she kind of started to talk a little bit about digital equity. So I don't know, Aaron or Dayton, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I'm happy to, Melissa. In fact, I'm on in leading the steering committee at the Denver Digital Equity Coalition. And we just finished our strategic plan where we are positioning that coalition to be kind of a thought leader for other coalitions as they emerge across the state, and also just really build infrastructure to know how to govern resources and make sort of decisions. But the impression, just being part of the digital equity work group at the state with Melanie, is that the overall Colorado digital access plan was approved for $12 million. And the state right now is kind of figuring out what is the best route and most equitable route of allocating those dollars across the state. And right now they've also kind of figured that they are putting out an request for application to identify quote unquote fiscal sponsors to interface with these coalitions that form across the state. And these digital inclusion coalitions are one per Colorado economic development region. So that's kind of how they're sectioning it out. I don't know off the top of my head what that translates to for our region, but certainly something to start thinking about, and a means of kind of tapping into those resources. And we don't know what that looks like in terms of allocation from the state. But I'll say, just last thing, having eyes on other digital access plans across other 10 states, Colorado is unique in this sort of approach where it's empowering coalitions to kind of self-identify where the resources are needed to address some of the KPIs that they're looking to achieve within the digital access plan. So I think it's a really innovative way that Colorado is approaching achieving digital equity. And I feel like, as collaborative as our region is, even just in the way that we define region, I feel like we're well positioned to kind of bring people around some common goals that the plan has and that some of the communities within the region have.
And before I share one more thing, anyone have comments or questions for Dayton about all that?
So I'll just say, I believe the regions that the economic development regions that Dayton is leading to align with the same regional boundaries as the 14 COGs across the state. We just received notice yesterday that our comprehensive economic development strategy was accepted by the U.S. Economic Development Administration. I could double check that, but I am 99% sure that those districts align with the council of government boundaries across the state.
Great. The third thing that I will mention that Penny and Amy got connected up with, again, as a result of Melanie from the Digital Equity office. She mentioned that there are rural areas that received grant money to open up, the digital medical opportunities in libraries. So if you want to, and I forget what it's called, but if you don't, you don't have internet at your house, you can go to the library and you can have your virtual meeting with your doctor at a library. And it turns out Park County was not one of those rural counties that was given any money to do such a thing, but Teller County was. And so they have started those opportunities, those meetings at in Teller County for residents who want to, do their virtual doctor appointments in the library. So Penny and Amy attended one of the meetings that was happening up in Teller County to talk about that kind of stuff, and then to, kind of mirror the project that they're talking about doing in Park County, which was through the ambulance districts. And so that connection has now been made also. So there's been a lot of movement, kind of there. And Steve, apologies that in some ways you're kind of like doing a catch up here as an El Paso County, kind of thing, but that Park County, Amy and Penny have kind of just been running along, primarily because there were some things that were happening with time that just made them jump in and make some things happen. But hopefully, again, if it becomes an opportunity to meet outside of the Commission on Aging, it might be better to do that. It's just going to be hard for Jared and I to keep track of it all, but we'll figure something out. So
yeah, we'll go ahead and document that. But that's exactly what I'm getting out of this as well, is that those efforts are awesome. That actually can create a blueprint for us, and whatever they're doing there can be things that we can, learn from and see if we can find ways to, make that happen somewhere in our county as well, or at least more talking points to learn.
all right, so that's what I had for the digital broadband update. So
Okay,
then, yeah.
so next we have our caregiver group. Connie, do you want to share?
Sure. So we made a little bit of progress today in that we're narrowing down our timeline, and we're looking at maybe June of 2025 for our symposium. We want this focus to be on family caregivers, and so we're really trying to brainstorm on ways to attract people who don't identify as a caregiver. And then that focus is on education and resources and trying to help people in that capacity. So our biggest issue we're having right now is trying to find a venue to host this event. We're hoping to attract about 100 people, have a few, like a small section for expo booth type things, and then a breakout room with keynote speakers and different education options. So if anybody has any ideas, we've explored maybe some church ideas, some different, what was the other one we were looking at? Maybe garden pavilions, libraries, things of that nature. I've reached out to a couple friends of mine who are event coordinators to see if they might know of a space that's willing to discount something for us. But that's our biggest issue at the moment. And then also just brainstorming a catchy name for like someone to be like, oh, I'm not a caregiver, but I take care of my old person. So what is this event and how do I go to it? So that's what we've been working on and meeting on. We've got a great group of people who are excited about it. And then as more information comes together, as far as like booth fees and things like that, we don't want your typical expo with trick-or-treating. We want the focus to be on education. And then if someone is to have a booth, we're looking at starting with local businesses and local agencies. And then they have to provide some form of education component rather than just a sales pitch right out the door. So, and then we'll have surveys with the registration for this event so that we are actually able to track, and then have, to Dayton's point, that quantitative measures, so that we are kind of keeping track of things over time and how we're actually able to help the families in our community here, because the number one issue is they don't know their caregivers. So it's getting that communication piece across. So Melissa, what do you think? Is there something else I missed? You were in our meeting today.
So I'm gonna bring it up, and Jody,
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of put you on the spot so you can be thinking about this. One of the things that's come up pretty quickly as we've talked about the caregiver conference is, you know, there's going to be people who want to sponsor. There's going to be a booth fee. So people who have booths are going to have to pay. And then there's a strong possibility of having, asking attendees to, kind of have a small, fee to attend. And so there's been conversation about who could be the entity that is going to be the fiscal agent. And so there's been discussion. Paula is looking into the Golden Bridge Network to see about them and how they kind of set things up. Because I was pretty sure, I don't think that that's something that the PPACG can be the fiscal agent for. That would be pretty challenging. But maybe. But in the meantime, also there's just been conversation, kind of talking through, how another entity could be the fiscal agent for it. So just know that that's been kind of brought up, and we're kind of wondering about it. And we'll have to figure something out. So I don't know if you have any thoughts or ideas off the top of your head.
I think Jody fell off the call.
Isn't that something? I wondered. Dang it.
So Jody just texted me they have a bad storm out in West Virginia at the moment.
Oh, good God. All right. And I'm recorded saying.
So if anyone else has ideas.
Anyway, so I meet with Jody on Thursday. I will bring this up to him on Thursday. And,
Great.
Again, just kind of get the word out there and start to be thinking about it. So we'll see. All right.
Hey,
that was the last thing.
Yeah, real quick, Connie, if you're looking for a venue, we did a focus group recently at the Peel House, and they have a really big open area down below that should be able to accommodate 100 people, but they also have incredible low rates for nonprofits to host events. So, and it's a totally first-class location, and it's PEEL, Peel House.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I just got the information for Pulpit Rock Church as well, so that might be an option. Okay, great. Yeah, we'll look into that one. Thank you.
Okay, is that the last of our groups? I think it is. You're muted, Melissa.
I would just reiterate the idea that Kathy and I might get together and kind of brainstorm some ideas around the intergenerational social engagement stuff that came out of the Future of Aging conference. So I will connect with Kathy on that, and again, maybe we'll find some other folks who want to do that social engagement work.
That's great. That's good stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we're on to the big bylaws discussion. And Jared, I believe you're on tap for that.
Did he leave us too? He's here. Where did he go?
Sorry.
There he is.
Oh.
There he is.
I've only got about 4 different devices going.
Jared.
Yeah. So we initially had this on the list as an action item. However, our bylaws state that we need to provide the bylaws basically a 30-day notice. So that's why we brought it back as a discussion. partly because of Innovations on Aging, but for some background, the board of directors went through its bylaws kind of over the winter months and adopted new ones at its March 13th meeting. And part of that was also a meeting procedures document, which I'll go into a little more details as well. But the idea is that it helps standardize across our different committees for consistency. But sticking with the bylaws, in addition to the Innovations on Aging part that we had, that kind of sparked this up first, we kind of want to go through a couple things that we're doing with all of our committees. One of them is in the weird scenario that a quorum is present, but no officers are present. Basically how a meeting can take place. And the way we do that is, and this is my superficial way of saying it, is whoever is the most senior member in terms of longevity on the committee will gavel it in. The committee will decide its acting chair for the meeting and then proceed with the agenda. Happy to think of other ways. That was just the way I put in there, just to have something. So if a position happens where all of our chairs and vice chairs and committee chairs are not there, but we have a quorum and a meeting could take place, how do we still have a meeting? We're also defining conflict of interest in all of our bylaws that just specifies that it's a personal or private conflict of interest. I think that's relatively understood. I think most people get that, but it wasn't clear, and we just wanted to basically clarify that. In terms of membership, there's a couple of things on the membership side. One of them is terms of membership. Just because we understand, especially for smaller entities, I mean, sometimes they're just lucky to get a full town council or city council filled. I know one of our jurisdictions was thrilled that every single one of their town council seats was actually competitive. They actually had more than one person interested in serving on council for that particular seat. And so realizing that if they're having a hard time finding just council members for the governing board, let's provide some flexibility so that if someone gets to the position where they're termed out and that town just has no one else that is interested and they've tried to find someone, that person can serve for more than 2 terms and they're automatically booted off, just and that town is no longer represented. In the bylaws, we also changed to where, because right now it was open-ended on membership, and we clarified the jurisdictional versus at-large membership, where the jurisdictional membership, those who are appointed by jurisdictions would always be the majority. And so we have 20 seats available to jurisdictional appointments. And so we're capping our at-large appointees to 19. Now, right now we don't have nowhere close to all of our jurisdictional appointees filled. So if at-large is outnumbered jurisdictional, that's fine. It just caps it that if all seats are filled, it would be 20 on the jurisdictional side, 19 on the at-large side. And also changing the bylaw process. Like I said, we require a 30-day notice to the commission that we're going to change our bylaws. The board of directors is 10. And so we're changing all of it to move to the 10-day notice, because right now, if it was a 30-day notice, we wouldn't even be able to consider this at our July meeting. We'd have to wait till August. And so keeping in mind that, we have a lot of different things going on, and that the board may change the commission's bylaws essentially without the commission's. I mean, they're going to provide input and they're not going to override it. But at the same time, if the board were to say, no, we're going to want the commission to focus on something else, it's not up to the commission to say yes. It's up to the board says that we all serve at the discretion of the board. Happy to stop there before I go into the meeting procedures part.
Jared, what prompted these changes?
So at the board level, it was mostly just kind of cleanup. What initially prompted it was some appointments that the board can make to statewide committees. And specifically it came from the Colorado Transportation Commission. And it was the way that our bylaws were written, we could in theory have some of our members have 2 votes at the State Transportation Advisory Committee. And so the way that that commission is struck, or the way that STAC, the State Transportation Advisory Committee, is structured, it's broken up by their planning regions. And PPACG is unique in that we have some members who are part of the Pikes Peak area MPO, and then some were called the Central Front Range Transportation Planning Region. El Paso County, Teller County are members of both of those planning regions. And the way that it was structured, El Paso County could essentially have 2 votes at STAC, or El Paso County, or part, it provided an opportunity. And so that's what prompted it, and kind of got it to where we need to do it. And in the process, we realized there was an opportunity. There was a couple things we had in the back of our minds for if we were going to change the bylaws. Here's some things that we were going to do. That's primarily in the meeting procedures document that I'm happy to go over next or now.
Yeah, that sounds good to me, at least, Jared. Thanks for that clarification. But I guess my kind of add-on question to that is, it sounds like this isn't really highly, like, this isn't impacting us significantly. So is there any, like, because I quite frankly don't know what a lot of this entails at an in-depth level. So, like, from your vantage point, is there going to be any significant changes that is going to be notable as we function going forward?
I would say from a day-to-day perspective, no. Like I said, the membership and capping the at-large, I mean, if we have 19 at-large members who are interested, I think we will all just jump through the roof and be completely excited about it. And similarly, if we could get all 20 jurisdictional appointments and where we have a 39-member commission, I think we would all be absolutely thrilled. So, I mean, if we ever got to that point, that's where we would start hitting that. Like I said, if we had some of those membership issues with a smaller jurisdiction who would either be termed out, we don't really decide, for conflict of interest, for example, based on the last conversation, if we were looking at the caregiving event at a location that someone was, if I had an events venue and you're like, yeah, I can host a commission on aging, and I was a voting member and I stood to financially benefit by able to rent out my space for a day, I would have a conflict of interest and would be expected to recuse myself. The quorum and the officers, I can't think of a situation where that's happened, but let's just cover that base while we're here. And then the bylaws changes, we don't change the bylaws very often, but when we do, like, so we don't want to take a quarter of the year to change the bylaws. The meeting procedures might be a little more impactful, but again, for this committee, not really, just because we don't often have public comment. I think it's just standardizing and really codifying and putting something down on paper of what we're pretty much already doing.
Jared,
yeah,
can I just ask, because, I've been doing this now for 5 years, and, we have made bylaw changes in other committees, and we have, discussed it, and we've discussed it here, that we wanted to make these changes, already too. And then, we make the changes, and then I send a memo out to the PPACG board to let them know that this bylaw change has happened, and basically things just move ahead. We've never kind of done a posting notice. And so I have no idea what that means. And so as we do this today, and we spend, a little bit more time just talking about it as a commission, and then what does it mean that we have to post, do a 10-day notice, or what would have been a 30-day notice, but in going forward, it'll be a 10-day notice. What does that mean, and how do we do that?
So the way we've done on the board side is, I mean, it's not a public notice in terms of we're not going to post on our bulletin boards and treat it like that. But it says, very similar to kind of the red line version that's included in the document, here's all the changes that we're looking at. We have to provide those proposed changes to the commission with at least 30 days before it's going to be acted on. And so if we were going to, just kind of looking at the calendar, you know, the next commission meeting is on July 17th, and June is a 30-day month. So it would be July 18th would be the absolute soonest. If we wanted to call a special meeting or delay it, but there's options there. But looking at August, the next August meeting is on the 21st. And so we would probably, after we discuss this, make any further changes, then we would send it out to all the commission members and say, these are the proposed changes. We will discuss them at the next meeting, which will be held on X date. But at least they actually can see what changes. I would say if it's going to be substantive changes, that would probably restart the 30-day clock. But by coming earlier and being able to discuss this, hopefully it prevents us from having to do this multiple times or restarting a 30-day clock multiple times.
Okay.
Alrighty, anything else before I drive into meeting procedures? Okay, hearing none. So, and I would say the meeting procedures document was primarily the stuff that we were kind of thinking of once we got to the point of doing a bylaws changes. This is what the board was really wanting to do. Because a lot of the stuff, like for public comment, we hadn't specified, for example, can a person use visuals? Can they not? If I don't use all of my 3 minutes, then basically laying out that those 3 minutes are for me. I can't take 1 minute and then give 2 minutes to Melissa, and now she has 5. Stuff like that, where, you know, a lot of our board members are dealing with public comments on a regular basis at their meetings, so they have seen this in action and also understand the need to really have this codified. And so that was the big part as we were looking at this, was the public comment section, which is on page 29 of the packet. And I want to kind of lay out the meeting procedures document. Was something that this is across all of the committees. And so we wouldn't have a separate meeting procedures document for the Commission on Aging. This is one to go across. Part of it is if someone was to provide public comment at the Commission on Aging meeting and then also to the Board of Directors, it's the exact same rules. They're not having to change from one to the other. For example, PPRTA, a separate legal body, they do have different procedures, and we've actually had people who provide public comment at one and then public comment another, and it is completely different procedures between those two bodies. So this standardizes it, keeps it all the same. But I kind of mentioned on the public comment, you know, no visuals, 3 minutes, and that's it. You can't pass it on to someone else. We do outline in there that commission members are not obligated to respond to public comment. Public comment is intended, can be as simple as a one-way input. If a commission member wants to respond, they can, but they know no obligation to do so. And we put that in the public comment procedures because we also want the public commenters to understand that that's, you know, they may ask a question, they're going to be sitting there if no one wants to answer it. We also put in their subcommittee, executive committee workshops, basically anything that's underneath this committee that there's not going to be a public comment opportunity. Now, when it comes to public notices and public meetings, the public has the right to listen in, but Colorado Open Meetings Law does not give them the right to participate. And so as we have some of the other smaller groups that meet, know that if someone joins the meeting, they're more than welcome to, for example, our executive committee meetings. But all they're obligated, all they have to be able to do is listen. They do not have to be able to participate. So that's the public comment period highlights. We also put in a couple other things for like meeting notices. And the idea is that this would be set by the board at each of the annual meetings in January. But we had about half of our committees where the public notice board was designated as one off the Chestnut Street entrance. The other half was designated at the 7th Street entrance. And so this helps codify that and basically says that the commission will follow whatever the board public notice policy is each January. We also put in there some remote meeting operations. And the concept with this was that the board really prefers in person over virtual. Now, obviously, in a situation like this, we don't have much option, but the board really wanted to emphasize in person for better discussion. Now, it doesn't mean that virtual is off the table, and we'll continue to have all of our meetings be in a hybrid format. But it is I think with the language we have in there is that remote attendance through a video or audio conference platform is offered to committee members and the public as a convenience, and individuals joining remotely are responsible for maintaining equipment and connection to properly facilitate participation. And part of that is also on the board side is that, and they have been a little lax on this, but I imagine we're probably going to start enforcing a little bit more, is that if you're attending virtually, that your camera's on. Part of that reason is because the way that our meetings are set up, we don't issue everybody PPACG credentials. And so I could log into a meeting, claim to be someone else, have my camera off, and if my voice was somewhat similar enough, I could participate as someone else, vote as someone else, and no one would know the difference. So that was kind of partly the reason for cameras on, was just as a security measure so we can verify who someone is. And we also are asking that if you're going to participate remotely, to let us know in advance of the meeting. Partly that is so I can let the chair of our committees know that, hey, we expect so-and-so to be participating remotely. And so they can plan to see that. And also, for example, we ran into this earlier today with a phone number. I can see the full phone number, and I'll Google it, but if that number doesn't pop up as a board member or a commission member, I'm not going to promote them into a space where they can talk. They'll be in listen only mode. So part of it is, if you're going to be calling into a meeting, let me know what phone number you're using so that I know who it is. Otherwise, I'm not going to promote them into a speaking role. We also outlined the meeting procedures, just if we have to change the meeting due to weather or other factors. The example I like to use actually happened at a commission meeting where about 10 minutes before the meeting was supposed to start, the power went out. And so how do we react to that? We still had a meeting. It was my laptop on top of the podium and using my cell phone as a hotspot. So we made it work, but if there's a power outage that happens with, say, 3 hours before a meeting starts, and we're not expecting to come back before a meeting starts, so at least an expectation of how we're going to communicate that out. And then the last part of the meeting procedures document is just the conduct. That is lifted directly from our board document. It just, again, nothing that I think is going to be an issue for any of us to deal with, but it says, you know, be respectful, provide other people to speak, you know, keeping responses tied to policy, don't make it personal. But that is, like I said, that is copy and pasted from our board of directors manual. And I believe that is it for the meeting procedures side. And that's pretty much it for the bylaws part. Happy to answer any questions on any specifics, or if we're ready to kind of schedule this for future.
Anyone have questions for Jared? Just saved us about 4 meetings, probably, going over that between ourselves. We've attempted that before, if I remember correctly. Thanks so much, Jared. So we now have to schedule it to be out there for 10 days, or do we have to do it for 30 and then 10 days goes into effect?
So the current bylaw state 30. So
Okay.
To change the bylaws to 10, we still have to follow the current one, which is 30.
Okay.
And so what I would recommend, just because we're within the 30-day window for July meeting, we can essentially use the July 17th meeting as the 30-day clock, because then in August it's August 21st.
Okay.
Now we can wait as late as July 22nd, since July has 31 days. But I would ask if anyone has any feedback or any questions or things that they would like to change. If we can do that before July 10th, because that'll be roughly when the meeting materials for this meeting goes out, we can make any more edits for the 17th, and as long as that's good, then we can plan to vote on this on August 21st. And then this would be part of the board's September agenda.
Okay. I say we do that. Does that sound good?
So Jared, I did make changes in the bylaws in terms of crossing things out. And so, again, do we just send that out to the commissioners to review now? Because like, I thought that's exactly what we would have looked at today. And so now, are you saying that we should, I mean, or they just look at it next month during this time frame, the stuff that's been edited? Or do they need to look at it before the July meeting?
I would say there's a couple ways to tackle that. And so part of waiting until the July meeting was that you guys, the entire commission has a chance to see all the proposed changes, provide feedback on those proposed changes. And that way for the July meeting, if we have to make any updates between now and July, you have a pretty close to probably going to be approved bylaws at July. And then that would start the 30-day clock. Happy to do it but I would say, I mean, we sent this packet out on Friday. I would recommend, and that's how we did it with the board of directors. We did it as a standalone email so that everyone knew that this email was serving as our 30-day notice, or in the board's perspective 10, and said this is because this came out on the board side ahead of the board packet, which is usually 7 days. And because, like I said, we're already within the 30-day window for July, it gets a little cumbersome. So do we want to say that it started on Friday? Yes, but it wasn't a standalone email, so I'd be questioning on whether we could follow that. So treating it as a separate notice to the commission members would be my recommendation. And so July meeting, everyone has a chance to review it, make any final edits, and then we likely send out an email, standalone email, right after the July meeting, because we have a few days to give with the schedule and the calendar to where we could send it out on July 19th, providing the 30-day notice ahead of the August meeting.
Okay. So the July meeting, we will actually pull up the bylaws that have been marked up and show the markup, have discussion, and then July 19th, it'll be sent out as a standalone email, and then August vote. Okay. Okay.
All right.
So yeah, so to clarify a little bit, because we've got the marked up version in there already, so feel free to take a look. And this is essentially providing a month to really digest if there's anything we need to change. Something specific to the Commission on Aging that I was looking through and I didn't highlight in my memo was on page 22. There's a paragraph on the initial makeup from when the commission moved from the city to PPACG. We have now passed that initial transition period, so I just took that paragraph completely out because it no longer serves its purpose. Mm-hmm. There may be a reason, because it happened before I got here, that maybe we want to keep it. And I think that's kind of, something like that is where we can have that discussion. That might be the only thing that is really specific to the commission, though.
And when will the the changes that the PPACG board has said, when will those be crossed over into the Commission on Aging bylaws
So I've incorporated those into the marked up version.
already? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Great. So, okay. So we'll look at the official marked up version on July 17th. And then send the standalone email on the 19th.
Yep.
Yeesh. All right. Okay.
Okay. So next we're on item number 10, member entity announcements. Do you have any announcements, Dayton?
Yeah, thanks, Paula. I was just going to mention, boy, as soon as I was about to pull it up, let me see here. David Lord and Tatiana Bailey just shared a report called "Aging in Place in the United States and Colorado Springs." I'm happy to share that with Melissa so we could get it out to the group. It's a new report, it looks like, that has some really good data in it, just coming out this month. Along with that report, it looks like there's an event where I think this is going to be covered, but let's see, it says this event will explore the Community Reinvestment Act, CRA, for banks, local workforce data, and how banks can earn CRA credits. So it's not like the most applicable, the event, but I wanted to get that report on this group's radar because it is relevant. It's really relevant. It's from Tatiana, who's very reputable in our community, and her insights are valuable. So thought I would just mention that report.
And Dayton, you'll email me that so I can forward it out to everyone?
Great, thanks for sharing that, Dayton. Does anybody else have any announcements? For the good of the group? My dogs had announcements just then. I had to pause for a minute. They were barking. All right, now we're on to meeting schedule. Our meetings for the next couple of months will continue to be virtual due to the work being done at the offices at PPACG. So our next meeting is July 17th, virtual only. The executive committee meeting will be on the first Wednesday of the month, which I don't know, will that be a problem? Is that the holiday week?
Ah.
It
That
is
is-
the 3rd.
Yep, it is the 3rd. That probably won't be a good day, will it, for most people?
Well, for the people who are on the executive committee, Paula, Aaron, Amy. Amy's not here, but can you guys meet, or do we want to set it for a different time? I'll be around.
I won't be around that day.
Okay, so we got to set it for a different date. So we can either play that game now, or I can communicate with you guys through email, so we don't waste time here. Either way is fine with me.
Let's do through email. If we could just bump it to the next Wednesday. I don't know if that works for everyone. That would be easiest, but
It is the board of directors that day, so just keep that in mind if anyone is planning to attend that meeting.
and anybody, it's open to anybody.
It is, yep.
I'll send an email to you guys because we'll have to pull Amy Mitchell in too, but I'll focus on the 10th, Paula, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, great. All right, next of the, the policy committee meetings are, you always include a schedule of meetings at the end of our packet. So those are usually listed, and then the PPACG meetings are also on that schedule of meetings. If everyone gets to the end of their packet, you'll see those dates listed. And I believe that's all. Oh, items for next meeting. So we'll look at the new bylaws next meeting. We will again report on the work group. So if people can have touch base with the members in their work groups, either through email or text or meet for coffee, whatever. It's okay if it's just 2 people, but if it's more than 2, it becomes a meeting. Is that correct, Jared?
That is.
Okay. So why if there's 3 people at a coffee shop, 2 can meet at one table, and then one person can walk to the other table and can play like the telephone game, and like, well, he can walk over and just said what they talked about, and then just kind of keep rotating tables, and it wouldn't be a real meeting if they were just meeting 2 by 2.
It would be, that would be what's called a serial meeting.
Oh,
Nice try,
um,
Paula.
okay.
Yeah, so I'm not going to say who, but a board district up north of us got dinged for that.
What if it was a coffee shop across the street? I'm just being facetious. I'm just kidding. Okay. No, but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
just know the rules on the open meeting. What else do we have for next action items for next meetings, items for next meeting?
I'm not
Anybody?
tracking anything else.
Okay. All right. Well, if that's it, then we are adjourned. Half hour early. How about that? Happy 4th to everyone. And yeah, guess that's it.
Thank
Happy
you.
4th, guys.
Yeah.
Talk to you
Hey,
next time.
Again, congratulations, Erin, on that award. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're so welcome. All right, we'll talk to everyone later.